How did a bunch of farmers with pointy sticks make knights? The super soldiers of the Middle Ages, totally obsolete in just 90 minutes. This isn't a fantasy movie plot. It's the incredible true story of the Battle of Morgarten. Get ready, because what you're about to hear will change how you see medieval warfare forever. Picture this. It's the year 1315. The mighty Habsburg dynasty, one of the most powerful families in Europe, is fed up with some rebellious peasants in the Swiss Alps. These peasants, from the cantons of Schwyz, Uri, and Unterwalden, had formed a confederacy to protect their freedoms. Duke Leopold, the First of Austria, decided it was time to crush this little rebellion once and for all. He assembled a formidable army of around 9,000 soldiers, including at least 2,000 elite, heavily armored knights. These guys were the medieval equivalent of tanks, clad head to toe in the best steel armor money could buy, riding powerful war horses, and trained in combat since childhood. Against them stood a mere 1,500 Swiss peasants, farmers, shepherds, and woodsmen, with no formal military training and armed with little more than agricultural tools they had repurposed for war. On paper, this was a guaranteed slaughter. The odds were 6-1 in favor of the Habsburgs, but the Swiss had a few secret weapons, desperation, home field advantage, and a revolutionary new way of fighting. The stage for this epic showdown was the Morgarten Pass, a narrow path squeezed between a steep wooded slope and the chilly waters of Lake Jagiri. Duke Leopold, confident in his overwhelming numbers, planned to march his army straight through the pass to surprise and squash the Swiss rebels. He thought he was walking into an easy victory, but he was actually walking into the most perfectly laid trap in military history. The Swiss knew every inch of this terrain. They weren't going to face the knights on an open field where cavalry reigned supreme. No, they were going to make the mountains themselves their greatest ally. As the long column of Austrian knights, squires, and foot soldiers snaked its way along the narrow lakeside path, they had no idea what was waiting for them above. Perched on the high ground, hidden among the trees, the Swiss were ready. They had spent days hauling rocks, boulders, and logs to the edge of the slope. As the vanguard of the Austrian army, a dense pack of knights, entered the narrowest part of the pass, the signal was given. A terrifying avalanche of timber and stone came crashing down the hillside. The sound must have been deafening, splintering wood, shattering rock, and the panicked screams of men and horses. The knights, trapped in their tight formation on the narrow path, had nowhere to go. The ambush threw the entire Austrian army into chaos. Horses reared and fell, crushing their riders. Knights in their heavy armor were knocked into the icy lake, where their expensive protection became a death sentence, dragging them to the bottom. The professional army was instantly transformed into a panicked mob. And that's when the second part of the Swiss plan kicked in. From the woods, the Swiss peasants charged, but they weren't just a disorganized rabble. They moved in a disciplined formation, a terrifying wall of steel points. Their primary weapon was the pike, a simple wooden spear up to 18 feet long. When held in tight ranks, a pike formation became an impenetrable hedgehog that no cavalry charge could break. They also wielded a uniquely Swiss weapon, the halberd. This was a brutal combination of an axe, a spear, and a hook on a long pole. It could pierce armor, chop limbs, and pull knights right off their horses. Imagine being a knight, disoriented and trapped, seeing this wave of determined farmers coming at you with these terrifying weapons. Your lance is useless in the crush, your horse is down, and your heavy armor makes you slow and clumsy. The farmers, on the other hand, are nimble, fighting on foot, and filled with a burning desire to protect their homes and families. The battle, or rather, the massacre, was over in less than 90 minutes. The Swiss, with their halberds and pikes, systematically dismantled the most elite fighting force in Europe. They showed no mercy. For them, this wasn't about chivalry or honor. It was about survival. The knights, who expected to be captured and ransomed according to the rules of noble warfare, were instead slaughtered where they stood. The Swiss weren't playing by their rules. They were fighting a new kind of war, a total war. Reports say that over 1,500 to 2,000 Habsburg soldiers, including hundreds of knights, were killed. The Swiss losses were minimal, perhaps a few dozen at most. Duke Leopold himself barely escaped with his life, reportedly fleeing the scene in terror. The invincible aura of the knight was shattered. That day, their shining armor became their iron coffins. The Battle of Morgarten was more than just a military victory. It was a revolution. It sent shockwaves across Europe. The idea that common peasants could utterly defeat the noble elite was unthinkable. It challenged the very foundation of the feudal system, which was built on the military supremacy of the armored knight. Morgarten proved that a disciplined, well-motivated infantry force could beat cavalry, no matter how well equipped. This tactical lesson would be learned and copied across the continent, leading to the rise of professional infantry armies and the slow decline of the knight as the master of the battlefield. It was the beginning of the end for the age of chivalry. Furthermore, the victory cemented the Swiss Confederacy. The Habsburgs were forced to acknowledge the autonomy of the Swiss cantons, paving the way for the birth of modern Switzerland. The battle became a cornerstone of Swiss national identity, a powerful symbol of their love for freedom and their willingness to fight for it against all odds. It also gave birth to one of the most feared military forces of the late Middle Ages, the Swiss mercenaries. For the next 2 centuries, Swiss pikemen would be the most sought-after soldiers for hire in Europe, famous for their discipline, ferocity, and their uncanny ability to defeat armies much larger than their own. Their motto was no money, no Swiss, but everyone knew that if you paid them, they would deliver victory. So, the next time you think of medieval battles, don't just picture knights in shining armor. Remember the farmers of Morgarten. Remember their simple wooden pikes, their rugged mountain home, and their unshakable will to be free. They proved that it's not the armor or the horse that wins a battle, but the courage, ingenuity, and unity of the people fighting. They showed the world that a well-organized group of common people, fighting for a cause they believe in, can change the course of history. The legacy of Morgarten is a powerful reminder that true strength doesn't come from wealth or status, but from the heart. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as incredible as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the battles that shaped our world. Let me know in the comments what other historical events you'd like to see covered. See you next time.